man that started with Claudius Banks, their father. I'm personally so excited about this event tonight. I've lived here probably 27 years, and every time I come down to Howelson and the lighted man lights up, I immediately turn into a 5-year-old. I'm jumping up and down. It's my favorite part. I'm so excited. I always want to see what he's going to do new. I've also been working at the museum about 23 years, so we have 3 different types of original lighted man suits from different eras. You can press a button and all his lights light up, so if you haven't seen that exhibit at the museum, please come. The kids love it now that it's a push button. But just being able to kind of go behind the scenes tonight and talk with the people who are in charge of, and have been in charge of, the lighted man for so long is just such an opportunity for all of us and for the museum. I'm recording this tonight, so we will put it on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. So that's really exciting. We're also just so excited to be a part of Winter Carnival. We love to support Winter Carnival each year in a meaningful way. Typically the way we do that is through exhibits at the museum where you can learn more about Winter Carnival history, including the lighted man, but also through digitizing the historic films. We have 1920s footage from Oak Street and Pine Street that we've digitized and is also on our YouTube channel. I'll put it up on our Facebook page again tomorrow so we can feature it. But really sort of highlighting that history so that the Winter Sports Club this week can focus on that current history. What is the legacy today of the Winter Carnival, and how is that fueling our athletes today? And this incredible program that Brian here heads that really allows us to not only create Olympic legacy, but continue the Olympic legacy that started back with Carl Howelson, and then not long after that was carried on to the lighted man. So we are recording, so we do want to make sure that cell phones are off. Before I introduce Brian and he introduces our lighted men, I do want to just say the way we're going to do this tonight is just let them talk sort of informally and share stories that they want to. Then I might chime in with some questions that we're particularly interested in for recording history at the museum. And then at about 6:15, we'll have about 15 minutes at the end for questions. When you do your question, we'll have them repeat the question before they answer it so everyone can hear it. Thanks so much to our sponsor, Storm Peak Brewing, that helps with the beer, Winter Sports Club, that did chocolate. Distillery is usually here. We decided not to have a distillery for an all-ages children's event. I think all the kids are skiing right now, and so they're not here in the room, which is a good thing. But do tell them all about it. And let's see, I think that's all the announcements. I'm Candace Bannister, Executive Director of the Trident Pioneers Museum, and your host tonight. So glad all of you are here with us. We do have QR codes around the walls. You can do a quick scan on your phone and support this series and support the museum in this way. You can also follow up with Myra or me as far as becoming members of the museum, and thanks to everybody that's here. And most importantly, Winter Carnival button that will get you into all the events this week is right outside the door, so if you haven't gotten your Winter Carnival button, please do. It supports the Winter Carnival, which is not inexpensive to put on, I found out, and supports the Winter Sports Club program that is so near and dear to our heritage and the legacy of Steamboat Springs. So without further ado, Brian Krill.
Thanks, Candace. And I will be brief. I don't want to take too much time away from these guys, and Candace covered a lot of bases there, but I wanted to personally welcome you to what's ultimately officially the kickoff of Winter Carnival, the 112th Winter Carnival. And what a great way to kick it off by celebrating the long history of the carnival itself, but this amazing lighted man or men that we have here to share their stories with us from a couple generations. So welcome to Ron, John, and Kent, of course, our resident historians, and I'm excited for you all to hear their stories tonight. I am just going to mention one thing that Candace mentioned, which is tonight is about the history and the heritage and what this 112-year tradition represents for this community. But as you'll see tonight out on the hill, we are still doing this every day, all day long, with 1,300 athletes still here competing in Steamboat. One of the most exciting and most important things about this community is that as this industry changes and as the economics and demographics of skiing changes, we are fighting every day to make sure that you can still do what kids have done here since 1914, which is come to Allison Hill, train, ski, be with your friends. We have, most of the time, families are here all night long. It's still very, very similar to what we've been doing for over 100 years. And that's not the case everywhere else. So we're here to preserve that, the history, the heritage, the lighted men, and most importantly, carry that tradition forward with our many, many athletes who are still doing what we've been doing for so long. So thank you for your support. I won't take any more time from these lighted men, and we look forward to having a blast with you for the rest of the week.
So special welcome to John, Ron, and Kent Banks.
Okay, I'm John, and I got involved in this the lighted man operation when I was, what was it, 1.5? I've been in Steamboat every single year of my life during Winter Carnival. And I don't know whether you guys can guess how old I am. My birthday's coming up, I'll be 77.
Yeah, with about 56 years experience.
We're twins right now. We're both 76. Siamese twins.
Yeah, he's 11 months and 2 weeks behind me. Oh yeah, so we get to share everything. And at any rate, I moved to Steamboat in 1970. And it was after college, and I was just filling in some time, and I thought, well, this is a place that I really wanted to see in the summertime, because I've always been here in the winter. And I came over here, and I kind of liked it, met a few people, and I went, and I was graduated from college. I did have a, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
I graduated from college, and I had 6 months or so to kill. I had a job lined up with Utah Power and Light as an electrical engineer, and so I had some time. And I thought, okay, I'm going to spend it in Steamboat. Got over here and I went to work on the ski area on the trail crew, sawing and burning, clearing runs. And college students were leaving in the summer, so they were looking for people. So I got started. Anyway, that started me in Steamboat, and I ended up spending 16 years here. And but my father, he was the lighted man, and this was our annual thing in February, second week in February, to do the lighted man show. And he talked me into skiing down with him. And that was 1971. There were 2 lighted men. And I said, I'm making no commitments. If I'm around, I will do it. And as it turned out, we skied together for till 1979, somewhere around there when he retired. He had a heart attack, and he's used that as an excuse to stop. He pretty well had me trained by that time, so okay. And so I said, the commitment's still the same. If I'm available, I will do it. So I actually managed to do that until 2019. And all the way to the United States, I got involved in industrial construction. I worked for TIC, which was a steamboat company. Loved that company. One of the best companies I worked for. And then I went to work for Kaiser Aluminum, so I was up in Seattle for a lot of time. And then most recently I've been down in Columbia. But I always managed to make it back to Steamboat. And the neat thing about Steamboat is one thing about the lighted man. You can stand up with all the lights on, nobody knows who it is. Really. I mean, if you mess up, they're not going to come after you. The other thing is, it's the kids. And you're the kids. Everybody loves it. They are. They scream, so we have to come back and do it. As long as we've got the equipment and it keeps working, it's a privilege to be a part of this community. And then we can elaborate or add more to it as we go, because we've got lots of stories. And they're all little side pieces. Who's next?
I'll do it.
Yeah, do him.
My name is Ronald Banks, short as Ron. And basically, I graduated from Weber State also in electronic engineering. And what happened with me is I actually ended up going to California. And I've lived in California about 50 years, and I just moved back to my hometown 6 years ago in Vernal. But I made a lot of the help with some of the circuitry because I worked for Intel for 5 years when microprocessors were just coming on. And I told my brother John, hey, check this board thing out. And he went in between and said, yeah, this is cool. And so that was my contribution to the technology side of it. And then John proceeded as he went through. And then, like I said, my dad and he both skied. And I came along and was just pretty much watching what was going on. Yeah.
There was a lot more to it. It's not just watching it going on. This has definitely been a family affair.
There's some work involved.
And without the family help, I mean, it takes lots of hands and to remember things and collect stuff. And it's a big part of it. The one thing that's really unique, and to me, I consider it has been a privilege for our family. This has been our excuse for my entire lifetime to get together. Family together once a year, no matter where we're strung out. And the neat thing about it, it doesn't compete with any holidays. So the traffic, plane tickets, you're not trying to compete with all of that, which is great. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about myself. I'm going to talk about the history. Okay, the original thing, it originally started with my dad. They were skiing down the hill with flares. And he was always upset because it was always burning holes in his sweaters and his coats. And back in those days, sweaters were all handmade, so they weren't cheap. So I guess my dad, I didn't really realize it, but my dad was kind of an electrical guy. He played around with electrical all the time. We had an amazing train set at home, okay? So anyway, to get back online with the story, he came up with the ideas of putting some lights on these poles. The first year, okay, which I believe is 1936. And he'd been here before that, but that's the first time, I guess he was the lighted poles. Okay, and then he went back and year over year, year on year, he would improve it. The first suit was done with, where he'd taken the connectors out of flashlights and even used the reflectors. And there was a 6-volt system and a huge heavy battery on the back. I mean, the original pack, I don't know how it could stand up, it weighed about almost 90 pounds. So then, like I say, each and every year he would improve it. I never saw the original suit, which is the leather suit that's over the orange suit at the museum. Okay, so as it went on, we all know the Conoco suit. Okay, which we don't know what happened to it, but that had the most burns in it and experience. He used to have switches on his chest, regular household switches. And also the other thing he would do, is when it came to Roman candles, that was the original hat that's down mine, that has a stovepipe on it. Now we didn't have the electronic ignition back then, it was lots of lighter fluid and a flare. But as a kid, the thing I remember most as I was growing up was cutting burlap sacks. Because we would start a month and a half before the carnival, and we would cut burlap sacks into about 3-inch wide strips, bags and bags and bags. And then we'd be wrapping them around wooden poles. Or he did several different things too, which was, he would make, my favorite one was the Steamboat boat that we put on a wire across the hill, and it was made out of conduit, wrapped in burlap, and then it had SS in it. We sprayed it with diesel and kerosene, lit it on fire, and it goes across the hill, and then it comes back. And then it comes back, and when it stopped, it sat there for about 1.5 minutes before it melted the wire and it fell down on the hill. But my fondest memories were going, at least here, was playing around on an aluminum scoop shovel taking it up the hill on the old T-bar and being up on the hill with my dad. I don't think I've ever in my life seen a show from the bottom of the hill. So that's kind of my legacy. But it's been a grand honor for our family to be here every year, to listen to the cheers. One of the most special times there is going to happen tomorrow night when they crown all the little princesses. And we get to see the kids. And my brother and I both feel the same. We love to have our pictures taken with every kid we can. Okay, so I don't know, we can open it up for some questions if you like. Okay, young lady.
Which of you will be doing it this year?
What is it?
Which of you will be coming down the hill this year?
Oh, I'll be the one. John did it for 49 years. COVID messed him up on his retirement. And I've been doing it just for the last 4 years, but 3 of us did it in 1976.
And you're the one in your 60s, right?
Yeah, I'm 67. I'm no spring chicken either. But I have to keep doing it at least until I get my son groomed. I have a son that's 41, and Ron has a son that's 50, so one of those two is going to have to.
Do they know that?
They will soon enough.
That's why he used the term groom. That's more like it.
Yeah, my son got off on the wrong foot, a snowboard.
Tell us how your dad got started.
What?
Tell us how your dad got started.
Steve?
No, up here on the mountain, the lighted man. What brought him out here? What got him started?
I can help with that.
Yeah, it's out of above my pay grade.
Yeah. My father, he was an outdoor guy. His dad was. They hunted and fished, and he got into skiing. He actually went to school. He went to a prep school in Salt Lake City. Come on, give me the name.
Wasatch Academy.
Anyway, then he went to the University of Utah. And while he was at the University of Utah, they put together what they call the Wasatch Mountain Ski Club. He was a charter member of that. And that was when they hiked everywhere. And as things went along and skiing got more popular, they started putting in lifts in these places. And I think the first one here in Colorado, was at Winter Park, rope tow. And so they discovered that, and then they discovered Aspen. And then Steamboat had the T-bar where it started. And so this is one of the places that he wanted, and it was close. I mean, Vernal, Utah is 3 hours west of here. And so this is one of the places he skied, and that was the right age, the 20 to 35 age where you're crazy guys, you think you're invincible and we can do everything on our own. Some of us, it takes us longer than others to figure it out that we're not the center of the world or the universe, that we need help. And Steamboat was part of that. He loved to ski, and Steamboat was close. One of the things I remember that was we were growing up, he drug us all over skiing. And when we came to Steamboat, it was the place we liked the best because it had sunshine and it had snow. And I mean, we skied in a lot of other areas and we'd show up and the wind was blowing, it was cloudy and the snow was rotten. But Steamboat was our favorite because it was the place we could show up and we could pretty much 99% of the time count on great skiing.
Was that Howelson Hill or was the other?
That was Howelson.
Howelson.
Yeah.
Our dad was so enthralled, I'd say, it was skiing. We actually had our own rope tow and ski hill in Vernal. We actually, and in the summertime we'd be chucking rocks, getting clearing it. But Banks's Hill still kind of stands there where we used to ski with our dad. And one day, like I say, I was clearing rocks, and I said, "Hey, Dad." He turned, threw a rock, hit the glass in the truck, and I was in trouble then.
It was great. It was a 1941 Shiv, And we pulled it up the hill, we were parked there, and we had gotten tired of rocks, or tossing rocks, and Ron and I were in there. And Ron hollered at Dad, and he turned around and he let that go, and it was coming our way, and Ron rolls up the window. Yeah, we knew we were in trouble, but Dad, you know, we actually got off pretty easy. It wasn't our fault, it was his fault.
Yeah, our dad, I would say as far as dads go, he was probably the greatest one in the world. I mean, we skied in the wintertime, and guess what we did in the summer? We fished. And we'd camp, we'd set a camp up in the Uintas there, and we'd be there about 2 months with our grandmother taking care of us. And our dad would show up and coming up and fishing. So, like I said, what a better life to grow up. You ski in the winter and you fish in the summer.
Question? What's the question?
Oh, he.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were back there.
You're in.
Yeah.
Are you looking at it, John?
I heard that one year the lighted man caught on fire, and is that true? And then and tell us about that. What happened?
Well, we tried that a couple times. We didn't like it. Fortunately, it wasn't serious. My father, I mean, his suit that he had, which we call the Conoco suit, which was a Conoco service station. He had ran a service station for, I don't know, 15 years or so. And one of his coveralls turned into it was probably the most successful of the suits that he built. But it had a lot of holes from basically the fireworks. And the original, actually, the first time he came down the mountain, and you remember he did that. He put the lights together so he wouldn't have to carry flares and so forth. And the original helmet, which it looked like a big sombrero, but it was made out of masonite, but it had one big spike and a light right up on the top. And of course, his friends said, I'm going to tie a couple of bundles of Roman candles to that. And so he was reluctant, but he did. And it was such a hit that it sort of stuck. So it went back to burning holes and things, but he put clothes together that were a little bit more substantial. One year I did have one of the fireballs and the Roman candles went down on that collar, but I had several layers and I had a turtleneck, a real heavy turtleneck. I still have that turtleneck, and actually I used to wear that always. That was one of the things, but I did put a patch on it. But we learned from those little mistakes, and we started out with coverall. We went to leather harness, and that spark down my neck, we put on a leather cape, and there was a leather piece from the back, the helmet, everything was all layers, and the last equipment that we started, well, basically we use now, we use a fire suit, and then we have leather welder sleeve over the top of it. The one thing about the molten sulfur, which is in all the fireworks, it sticks, and anything synthetic, it sticks too, and it sits there and burns through it. So things like cotton and leather, it'll bounce off of, which is a good thing. So we learned the hard way, but we learned good. Any other questions, young lady?
Yes, what did Mom think of this?
What did Mom think of this? Well, unfortunately, when I came along, it was pretty well established, But there were some things that Dad did that, okay, hopefully he lives through it, but he was careful. And she supported it. But I don't think we ever got the full story. Another question over here.
How much does the modern suit weigh?
Actually, without the fireworks, we just got through weighing it. It doesn't include the skis or the poles. It's right around 30 pounds. But there's at least 30 pounds of fireworks goes on top of it. And one of the things that we did learn, and when I took over, I didn't like the fact that the fireworks was strapped up on top of my head. It was a balancing act. And I was my first fear was if I fall down, I'm not going to be able to get up again. And so my first modification was to move it down, split it in half, and I moved it down on either side of the helmet. And that worked pretty well, but it was still unwieldy. And then we came up with the idea of attaching it to the backpack. And that really made a big difference. I mean, 1 year, and it was actually the year 1977 when there were 3 lighted men. It was our first run down. And typically what we do when we come over and at that particular time, we would set up and get dressed in the lift shack over here, at the tow house actually. And we were inside, and we would always leave our skis outside so they could cool down. You don't want to take warm skis and stick them on cold snow and end up with a piece of ice stuck to it and find out up there that your skis weren't going to work. So we would leave them outside. So anyway, first run down, Dad goes first, Kent goes second, and I shoot out, start to make a turn, and I lose my uphill ski. It sort of winds off, so I think, okay, I'll finish the turn, and I have my fireman guy behind me, and as soon as I get stopped, then he'll put the ski back on, and we'll just go on down. Well, as soon as I got downhill, I lost the right ski. So both boots hit the ground. I did a somersault forward flip so fast, I didn't know what happened. And here I am sitting on the ground. Fireworks is going, the lights are on, skis are on both sides. Jamie comes up to me and says, "You want to put the skis back on?" I says, "No. I'm walking." And, I actually walked down the hill. Everything was on, fireworks is going. It wasn't the kind of experience that I would like to try again. I learned a lot from it. And we survived.
No, the good part was Dad. He was skiing down the front. He, "What the Sam hell is going on back there?" Because all of a sudden there's all these, just cut the hill in half.
Question over here.
So you guys lived in Carnival, Utah. How did you get involved with Steamboat's Winter Carnival? And obviously many generations of that.
Well, that was Steamboat was one of the first places that had a ski lift, and my dad was an avid skier, so he was over here several times a year, and that's how he got involved in the carnival. But yeah, Steamboat had a lift. There was a chairlift at Alta in Utah. There was lifts at Winter Park and also down in Aspen in the beginning. Yeah. And you had to have tough gloves in those days because rope toes were hard on the gloves.
Did your dad have official approval from the ski? Or did he just do this on his own?
I think.
First run down.
Oh well, he came over and he did a demonstration when he had the electric poles. That was the first he came over here, and they said, "Yeah, that you're crazy like the rest of the participants." And I said, "Oh, we'll add you to it." Yeah. Back here.
Can you put a year on the beginning and, the whole lift situation that you were just talking about?
Well, I'm not the historian on the list here, but the lighted man was. It's debatable. I wasn't there. And it's somewhere between 1937 and 36 is when they officially put it as the lighted man, starting as part of the Winter Carnival. And I'm not sure when the first lift was here. I know when I showed up here, it was, I remember when I was, 4 or 5, there was a T-bar, and the T-bar here went all the way to the top of Emerald Mountain. And the T-bar, every third, actually there were 3 bars and then there was a single chair. And I never got to ride all the way up to the top. But if you got the chair, you spanned the spot from the top up here over to where it was, so you were off the ground quite a ways. And those single chairs, they weren't anything to write home about. You were hanging on to the single post that it was attached to. And it went clear to the top of Emerald. And then the chairs disappeared, and they shortened the T-bar to the top of the mountain, which is where the pommel ends up and where the the chairlift ends up right now.
Is that the T-Bar Trail? Then the walking trail?
Excuse me?
So is that where the T-Bar went? Is the T-Bar Trail is today?
Well, it's actually pretty close. You used to be able to see the right of way, and it lines right up with, and it went right up to the top of
That's so
Emerald.
cool.
Yeah, but I never had the opportunity to make it all the way up there while I was there.
What year was that, when you were 5?
About 1954, 53, somewhere in there. She wanted to know how old I was. Anyway, question.
Do your life and medical insurers know who you are?
Well, I was doing this before I got married, so she didn't have any choice. She knew what she was getting.
No, your life and medical insurance.
Life and medical insurance? Well, you know, it's not in my hands. It's in the good Lord's hands. And I mean, we try to learn from our mistakes, and it's relatively safe. I mean, and we know that because of the history of it. I mean, Steamboat, the Winter Carnival, and the night show, and all the fireworks. I mean, I do some of the things, and I don't think what I do is as crazy as the old man's throwing the candle or the guys that jump through the fire hoop. Those guys are, I don't know, they have to prep their head a few days ahead, and I think that involves some kind of beverage.
Next guy in the back of the room.
In the back of the room.
Yeah, here.
Yes.
You're talking about the lighted stuff. How about the change that comes down with the skis and mountain design? See, there was no way of grooming the trail. So you had all that ice that came down. There were wooden skis. They didn't even have, first I don't believe in the sewer. They didn't even have steel edges on them. Cable bindings, you know, they're doing all the things they faced when they first put that on. That wasn't an easy trip.
Now, he's talking about the equipment, and yeah, when it started out, it was wooden skis, and they didn't even have metal edges. Fortunately, the equipment has evolved a lot, and I mean, one of the biggest things was the metal edges. But it took them a long time to get away from those bear trap bindings. I mean, if you fell down, your skis were attached. And if you wanted to get out of them, you could break them off, I suppose, but usually that came with some consequences. But yeah, the equipment is amazing, and the thing that they've done here in Howson Hill with the quality of the snow. I mean, it used to be a real challenge before they got the good grooming equipment. I mean, it was moguls, and the Howson Hill is the race course. And when you had to cross that ice sheet that they had polished down for the slalom course, and it could be exciting. And I did a few loop-de-loos and spun out and hit the ground a couple of times. But now it's like ballroom skiing. I mean, they do such a great job. Question?
I can't imagine why, but did your sister ever show an interest in wanting to do this?
Yeah, we have a sister. No, she always wants to be here to ski, but for some reason, we have to kind of coax her. But she's always good support. She's always here. I think she's always been here for the Winter Carnival. She just go down the hill. But not ever had a desire to do this.
She's smart. She knows crazy when she sees it.
So, who's going to wear the suit this year?
Ken is going to wear the suit. Yeah, this will be the board.
Who gets the fireworks, and how do you decide what to get?
It's interesting. I mean, Roman candles is basically the heart of what we use, and we bundle it, and we've got 2 sets operating at a time. It's split. And it's actually split into 4 packs, and so we burn half of it halfway down the mountain. And because we don't know exactly how it's going to burn, sometimes we like to try to put it together so it burns about 60 seconds. But it varies a little bit. And so that's one of the reasons why it's split. So if you're down halfway down the mountain and you're still got fireworks, and you got to slow down, and you got to light the other stuff off. Because we want to make sure that the fireworks is out before we get within 200 feet of the crowd. But it's Roman candles. We put it together. We buy the Roman candles and then we fuse it and we tape it together and we have what we call rocket packs. And it's basically, it's a cartridge that slips on a piece of conduit and it separates the two burn. It's done in two sections and then there's a metallic barrier to keep one side from lighting the other. And but it's also, it's quick and it plugs in. You just drop it down. It's got a cord and it plugs into looks like a phone plug on the back of the pack. So we can change it out and we change it each run. And that I can tell you a little story about that, how that all came about. Back, it was mid-70s, somewhere in there, and we were suiting up over in the tow house over there, and at that particular time I had the Roman candles were on each side of the helmet, and we would wire them in the lift shack, and they would get wired to the backpack, and there were just some copper pins that stuck out, and we stripped the wires on the detonators, and they'd just be wrapped around. Well, I was in there, and my assistant got everything taped down, ready to go, and he started to wire, and he wrapped the first wire, no problem, wrapped the second wire, and the Roman candles ignited. And so we're in it's a low ceiling. We were testing, and there were probably 15 other people in there. And my assistant took one hand, grabbed me by the Roman candle pack on my head, and headed towards the door. And the other hand, he was just wiping people out of the way because everybody packed up against the door, and it opens in. And all this time, Roman candles are going 2 feet in the air, splattering all over the room. It's quite exciting. But my assistant was persistent and motivated, and I ended up being the first one out. But that was, from that experience, we never wired anything that was attached to fireworks. Now it's not even put together, or it's actually not loaded until we get up on top of the hill and ready to come down. Back in the middle, blue shirt.
Thank you. Where do you practice?
Watching the big hill.
Yeah, the only practice is just skiing. But with the equipment, when the lights go out and you throw the switch, if it works, it's thumbs up. It's a great feeling. The pressure's off. And then there's more than, there's several things. Typically, it's very seldom that we get everything to work the way we plan. But there's enough things that it's not normally missed. Now, if the lights don't go on, it's a problem. I remember a couple of years, it's been several years back, but we were having problems with the fireworks. They didn't ignite when they were supposed to. Standing up there in the hill with the lights on, and everybody's cheering, and the light man's not moving. My fireworks not working, and fortunately, the guy behind me pulled out the trusty backup flare and lit things off. And the announcer says, "Yeah, it looks like he's got a big giant match. He's going to light them with light his hand." That's exactly what happened. But yes, things happen, but it goes on. Question?
You're the one.
Here in the middle. Yeah, right here on the road.
So you said something about your dad skiing with flares before he ever started the lighted man stuff. So he used to ski like with a club with flares.
Yeah, they had a torchlight parade that they did. I mean, with the torches, they skied down. I don't know where they even have it. The ridge run. He used to run right down the top of the ridge up there, and that was one of the things that was real popular. And I think he got involved in that. Over here in the back. You're it, yeah.
These stories that you've been telling, were there any injuries to anybody during all this time?
Just me.
Yeah, I'll let you tell him about that. It was my fault, but I was under the influence of slick snow.
Well, the first time it happened, I've been a fireman. okay, for years and years and years. And the first time was we were skiing down and I got too far down the hill and something happened with John and he didn't fall down, but he leaned forward like this. And of course, right in the chest. That was a good one. That was no burn, no accident. The most recent one was, I don't know, about 7 years ago. We were up on the top of the hill getting ready and he was plugged in and we were testing stuff. And he was just supposed to be messing with the lights. The lights are over here and the fireworks are over here. And he pushed the button and he set off a flash tray, which is the big flash. And of course, I just happened to be looking up a little bit, but I had safety glasses on, and that was the good news. I had, of course, a woolen hat, and round here, and basically what happened is I got burned down the neck, and it smoked my hat.
His whiskers were shorter.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
He's our little brother, it didn't matter what.
They were always tying me up and leaving me out, you know. I was a crash test dummy when I was growing up with these two guys. I got a question for the crowd. Who remembers the bow toe? There's one back there.
The boat toe. The boat toe.
What is the bow toe?
The bow toe, yeah. The bow toe was a very fun operation. It used to run up basically on the other side of where the pommel lift is. And what it was basically kind of like two sleighs without runners that you could put, about 18 to 20 people in. And it was run off of an electric motor and the drivetrain off of an old car where it was forward, clutch, reverse. And there was one on each side, so it was kind of like a tram in its operation. But anyway, after it ran and it started snowing, the snow, it had built up these huge bumps. And I mean, the people that were
like
sitting
stair
there,
steps.
yeah, like stair steps, and it was amazing. Well, if you didn't know what you were doing, you would see a lot of air before you fell.
And it was for the jump.
Yeah, it wasn't for the standard. It wasn't for the standard people. It was just for the jumping hill. Most mainly, it was a place where they could put, because they couldn't ride the T-bar with their skis on. I think this thing's running out of gas.
No, it's good.
Does this still have gas?
It does.
Having nothing goes away. What would you like, young lady?
Well, I was wondering, who are your proteges?
I have a son named Jonathan that's 41. My brother Ron, he has a son named Christian that's 52.
And they're all in on it.
Well, this is the grooming part of the operation. My son has a really bad habit. He's a snowboarder. We'll break him of that.
I'm going to change that.
Yeah. And he's going to be here Friday, actually Thursday. He's my fireman. Yeah.
So he knows.
He knows, yeah. He
knows the drill.
He knows, yeah. It's his wife we got to get rid of. The next generation. I have a grandson that's 6 years old, so yeah. I mean, conceivably, we'd like to keep doing this forever.
How did your dad end up in Vernal?
He was born in a no place outside of Vernal called Watson. His father was a railroad engineer. He was the one that engineered the grade for the Gilsonite mines that used to go down over Douglas Pass into what would be Fruta, I think.
Yeah, it's Mac, Colorado.
Yeah, Mac, Colorado, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then do you guys have to sign a legal release every year?
No, actually what we do is we have to sign a thing where they insure us. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
It used to be Wild West. The show's pretty tame now compared to what we used to do 20 years ago. Yeah, it was Wild West.
I want to know, has your son ever tried to pack with his boards?
That's a good question because he has his own designs and he's pretty, Pretty good at artistic stuff, yeah. I mean, you never know. When I was a kid, I wanted to take a kite off of the 90 meter and light it up and just have the stuff, you know, sparklers shooting off the back. Yes, miss?
Ray, what about your son, who's 52? Does he envision doing this?
Well, what's going on there is my grandson, he's autistic, but he's growing out of it. He's actually an honor student, and but he turns out that my son is about 6'3", and my grandson, he's 6'5", and he's a big boy. And but he's a great kid. He's smart, and I'm hoping, like I said, in the next 2 years, actually starting college here this coming year, and we're going to try to get him integrated. At least he came here when he was real little, but he's been pretty much home with it since then. So
it sounds like your kids are pretty smart, and that's part of the problem.
Now, we can't fess up to all the things that we attempted. We probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah, they don't suffer from ID10T. Idiot.
Oh, talk about Tim.
Yeah. Actually, I got one more question. I've got a little short one to tell you. I didn't finish. Go ahead.
What do you say to people when they try to find like a deeper meaning?
I missed that one.
What do you say to people when they try to find a deeper meaning in the light of man?
A deeper meaning? A deeper meaning. That's a good question. I mean, it sort of happened, and that's how my involvement. I mean, I was real reluctant to get involved, and basically for the commitment. I had no problem with the short term, but long term, that I wasn't sure that was going to work. But
It grew on him.
Yeah. And Steamboat is a special place. You guys all know that. Because you've all caught the bug. You come and you visit, and somehow it just sucks you in. A special place. Very special place. I was talking about the fireworks and where we get it. I mean, that was an earlier question. And we used to order it from various suppliers. And we have to kind of coordinate our fireworks with the big display operator, because we come in under his insurance. And so we have to follow all the rules and regulations and so forth. And it was a wonderful thing when we had Tim Borden here. And Tim Borden was such an asset to this community. And he supplied all of our fireworks for years and years. And he also, and when he went to the shows where he got the fireworks and stuff, he'd always spot something for us and pick it up. And he didn't just buy 3 or 4, he bought it by the case. and basically we've been shooting that fireworks for the last few years since he's gone. But he's a special guy, and he worked with us very well, and we learned a lot from him.
Did he try to get you to use a mortar?
And we try to stay, I mean, we've tried some larger stuff, but when you take a shotgun and you stand it up in the backpack and you shoot it off now, so we stick what we call 1¼ inch stuff, which is 3G and 4G is what it comes under the fireworks classification, and that's pushing it. Over here? Question, yeah.
Did you ever incorporate a microprocessor into it?
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, actually, the lights run with a microprocessor right now. The LED control is it's a small programmed microprocessor, and we've actually, I don't know, it's actually got 3 different programs in it for color sequences. But we can generate what they call full spectrums, 256,000 different colors. And the option we normally run, we can strobe it, we can flash it, we can fade it, we can dissolve it. And I think we run like 22 programs. We've got 2 buttons on the poles, actually 3 buttons that control the lights. One of them is the power switch, one is the program selector, and the other one is the effect. We can change the speed, change colors, things like that.
Buy that on Amazon?
What's that?
Buy that on Amazon?
Close. No, actually we didn't. We actually, the first ones we got, and we still use them, and there's a guy on YouTube. His name is Big Cleve, and he's an English electrician, and he's a tinkerer, and he buys things, takes them apart, and he built one of the best drivers out there. It's relatively inexpensive. It's a kit, but the one we operate and we use, it'll produce. I mean, if you have proper heat sinks and so forth on the power components, you can get 35 amps per channel, which means we can run about, I don't know, 500 watts of power through the thing. But we don't run that much. The nice thing about the LEDs is we've got 4 times the light that we had when we were running at 200 watts of power, and we're down around 30, 40 watts.
How did it come to be that you're using lights and fireworks? Was one first and the other added, or was it just sort of all come together?
Yeah, the lights, how did we get to lights instead of, it was from basically preservation of ski clothes. Fireworks runs holes in clothes and lights don't, and that was the original direction my father was headed, but unfortunately he had some friends that thought he should carry some fireworks, and that was added back, and so we had to beef up the clothing, so to speak, fireproof.
Fire to lights to fire and lights.
Right, exactly.
I'm trying to figure out the process. So how on earth do you get to the top? And how big is your support group? How many people?
Well, actually it's
Ride the Palma.
Yeah, we ride the Palma. We prefer the Palma. And the reason for that is because of the backpack. It's not particularly big, but it's rigid, and and the chairlift is a little awkward. But I mean, we've ridden chairlifts with the equipment on, but it's disassembled. When we go up the hill of Palma, we're not carrying the fireworks, and the fireworks weighs more than the equipment. And that doesn't come on until we get on top. And the Palma lift is the ideal way to go up there. I mean, I was towed up there a couple of years with snowmobile, and that works too. But the preferred is the Palma lift, and then we assemble things on the hill. But we have fireworks that we shoot off. We've got 10 locations, 5 on each side of the hill, and it's kind of a runway, so to speak. It outlines where we're going to ski, and we shoot that off just before we come down the hill. And it starts out with some strobes, and it kind of gets people focused on, something's happening up there, and then the flighted man, that's the first run, and then we shoot some fireworks off the side of the hill on the second run, and then also at the bottom, on the second run, we have 2 what we call the finale fireworks. Lighted man stops at the bottom, and they shoot a rapid fire rocket pack on each side, makes an arch, lots of fire stars in the sky. Then the lighted man vanishes, lights off.
To directly answer your question, it takes 6 people. Okay, we have 2 on each side of the hill to do the hill fireworks, and then I have 2 people that go with me. One is a loader, and the other guy's a fireman. Go back there, young lady.
Back in the back.
Not that far
I was just
back.
wondering, so you design a different program each year, and who designs that program? Because obviously it's programmed, it's not like you're pushing buttons on yourself as you're going down.
Program's set in the suit, pretty much. Our biggest problem every year is chasing gremlins. My brother and I just spent 3 days at home chasing gremlins out of the suit. You know, even though it looks great, it's a picky suit.
One of the things that we do is every year when we finish up, we critique, and we come up with at least 20 items of things that we want to change, that we want to improve, that what if you did this instead of that, and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's kind of a process. It's a continual process, and we make changes. And we take advantage of technology that comes out and things like that to improve things, and so that it's and we're competing with the kids now. They're getting pretty high tech with all their lights and stuff, and so we're pushed. We gotta keep up.
Who covers your expenses? How, you know, is that a, you know?
The winter carnival covers our direct expenses and so forth, which is great. And we really appreciate it. I mean, excuse me, I don't say winter carnival, I should be specific. When Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club, they provide our expendables and so forth, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't do it without.
Right.
It's,
now do you mean the equipment and getting here and all that?
We volunteer the equipment, the use of the equipment. They don't pay any of that expense. They pay for the fireworks. They provide us lodging and help with our transportation.
And groceries.
Yeah. And Kent lives in, and that's one thing.
Thank you.
One of the things also is we travel all over the country. I mean, my brother has a house in Vernal, but that's only been there 5 years now.
Yeah.
And that's a meeting for us. Of course, my sister has always lived there, and we've always had a place to meet. But Kent lives in Budapest, Hungary, and I spend most of my time in Colombia, near Medellin, Colombia. And Ron used to be in California, and so we were always traveling to get together for this thing in Steamboat. I did have a house here for 16 years, and it was great. I didn't have to go visit anybody. They came to me. Everybody wants to come to Steamboat.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we going?
How about the lady in the black hat?
The black hat? Oh,
right over
okay.
here on the right.
Do other towns have lighted men?
No other towns, as far as we know. And Steamboat isn't the only place we've done it. I mean, we've done lighted special appearances. We've done it in Aspen. We've done it at Winter Park. We've done it in
Jackson Hole.
Sun Valley.
Japan.
Alta in Utah. Someplace else. Oh, and I did it one time in Round Top, Arizona. So yeah, the Steamboat is home for the lighted band, so don't worry about it. Okay.
It wasn't in the late 70s or early 80s, the Steamboat Dance Theater brought Palabolas to town. It was a very avant-garde dance company at the time. They came in the summer and they were very more acrobats than dancers, and the group was, you know, a very polite dance company. And after intermission, they come out with these long poles that have the, I suppose they're the LED lights, but they're ones with the plastic tubes.
Yeah.
The audience went nuts. They started cheering and applauding and jumping up and down, and the dancers were all
Let's wrap this up.
happened to this crowd.
Okay, that's enough.
Later,
We can talk to anybody that'd like to talk, but people are starting to go and need to go be somewhere.
One of the things that reminds me, we did for a number of years, we had some electric slalom poles that we used on the hill also. And my dad had those early, and they worked pretty well. And we tried to bring them back, it was in the 80s, but we had difficulty getting enough people that wanted to do it, and other than just show up and learn everything in front of everybody, and it turned out not to be a good way to do it. So we discontinued that.
No. Please. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.